The murder with a gardening hoe. In Indonesia, an archipelago country in Southeast Asia, a teenage girl was found dead, naked, covered in her blood, and with her genitals stuffed with a gardening hoe. More shocking was the fact that incident happened while she was at a previously assumed secure women's-only boarding house. The unfortunate story revolves around a desperate lover consumed with vengeance and hatred, whose actions had far-reaching and disastrous consequences.
Welcome to Spider Stories. We bring you true stories every other day that are guaranteed to send chills down your spine. From stories of restless spirits to encounters with otherworldly beings, you will be captivated by these pulse-pounding narratives. So buckle up because these stories will keep you on the edge of your seat.
Enno had recently completed her studies at the Indonesia University of Education UPI, and now she was employed by the PT Ploida Global Mandiri firm. Her lover, meanwhile, was still a kid at the middle school down the street. The parents of Enno, however, had other ideas and requested that she marry someone other than her partner Rahmat Alam, also known as R.A. As a respectful daughter, Enno went through with her parents' plan for her to have an arranged marriage, as such unions are widespread in Indonesia and reflect the cultural and religious values of the country. In contrast, after learning of her decision to proceed with the arranged marriage, Ara begged to see her one more time simply to kiss and hug her farewell, and she complied, figuring there was no harm in granting such a harmless request. Consequently, she extended an invitation to him to visit her in the female dorm at around 11:30 p.m. On May 12, 2016, Ara was granted access to Enno's dorm room. The lovers embraced and spoke for about 30 minutes, and then Ara began undressing her, with the intention of intercourse. However, Enno turned down his request and backed away, out of fear that she might get pregnant. This is when things went wrong, since Ara misinterpreted her response and rushed out of the dormitory, leaving Enno alone. Ara, still enraged, had not left the home grounds. He had gone out into the streets between the female and male dorms. And about 12:30 am, while puffing on cigarettes, he was approached by two male-only dormitory residents, 24-year-old Rahmat Arifin, nicknamed RH, and 24-year-old Imam Hapriyati. Before that night, Ara had never met either of the two men, but the trio hit it off right away. RH and Imam didn't realize Ara was referring to Enno when he mentioned his girlfriend at first. They teased him and urged him to take them to her room so they could see for themselves who the mysterious girlfriend was. Additionally, a discussion sparked amongst the three men where Ara confided in them about the whole matchmaking fiasco and how Enno rejected him. The conversation escalated to the point that the two factory workers started to chide him. Just rape her. There's no way that she'll be your girlfriend in the future anyways. Perhaps similar ideas were already building in R.A.'s head, for they didn't take long to return to the dormitory. The dormitory's gates, which could only be accessed from the inside by inhabitants, were left unlocked. Enno's door was also left open, maybe as reassurance of the guaranteed security of her residency. The three discovered her sleeping on her bed. Upon seeing Enno's face, the two factory men realized that they knew her all too well, as both had made advances towards her but were always rejected. Allegedly, Enno had always called RH ugly whenever they crossed paths, while Imam's text messages and calls would always be ignored. Jealousy, rage, and resentment began to build up as they peered at her sleeping unknowingly on the bed. Imam immediately started smothering Enno with a pillow and ordered Ara to look for a kitchen knife. When Ara failed to find a kitchen knife, he ventured out into the grounds and picked up a gardening hoe. By the time he returned to the room, Imam was still attempting to suffocate Enno, who had nearly lost consciousness, while RH was pinning down her legs. Imam then ordered Ara to slash at the struggling girl's face with the blade of the gardening hoe. The young man dutifully followed directions, but his composure was so shaken by the sight of blood that he abandoned his instrument and fled the room. Yet the torture didn't end there. RH started to rape her, and upon finishing, Imam continued to mutilate the Enno's face with a dining fork that he brought from home. Ara did return to the room, but not because he had changed his mind and chose to save his girlfriend before she succumbed from her injury. Instead, Ara was still so angered with Enno that he began to bite her left breast until an impression of his teeth was left, as revealed in the investigation. RH put the gardening hose rod down Enno's vagina and kicked it into her. Her lungs, stomach, and heart were among the many organs that were ruptured, as 90% of the gardening hoe was pushed into her body. An autopsy would later unveil her cause of death, both the impalement with the gardening hoe and a separate blunt force trauma to her neck. The three men then covered her body with pillows and blankets and washed their hands. Before fleeing the scene, RH padlocked the room from outside and threw the key back into the room through ventilation. 3 days later, concerned coworkers broke into Enno's room since she still hadn't shown up to work. On the Sunday right after the crime, investigators from Jakarta Metro Police and the IT team from Indonesia's police headquarters successfully brought in RH and Imam through witnesses' accounts and remnants of her blood in their house. While later admitted that his motive for torturing and killing his girlfriend was out of jealousy over her arranged marriage with another man, and he was only further angered by her rejections to his sexual advances onto her. In 2017, a panel of judges determined that RH and Imam were legally proved to have committed premeditated murder and rape and condemned them to death. The defense team filed an appeal, but the judgment stood. The female-only dorm was deserted after Enno's death. Nobody wanted to live there since they couldn't stop thinking about their former coworker and the pain she endured. Friends say that despite having her own share of challenges, Enno managed to have a positive attitude and boost the spirits of people around her. This concludes our video for today. Keep listening for more real accounts.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to stay tuned for more true stories.